All right, Coach, we'll just have you start off with talking about getting closer to the season, how the team's progressed, and just where they're at right now.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where we're finally within. We're in a week of our first scrimmage, and the first time we get a chance to play somebody different. So I think it's starting to get that point. The temperature's dropping a little bit outside. It's you're getting close to games. So it's starting to feel like basketball. I think everyone can kind of feel the energy shift a little bit. Everyone loves the games. We've been working. I think we've had 30, 40 practices at this point. So it's kind of nice to get that point where, okay, the game's getting closer. And this is not a group where you have to worry about focus. So I think they've been pretty locked in regardless. But still, the energy, you can see a little uptake the closer you get to the games. We were telling our girls last week, I thought last week was the first time you kind of started seeing us look like, okay, we're getting ready to play a game. They look like a team who's ready to take a step forward. I was really excited about the progress that this team made last week. I thought it was the best week we've had as far as preseason goes. We're starting to get a little bit healthy. We fought some nagging injuries all season. We're starting to get a little bit on the healthier side. But as a coaching staff, we're really pleased. We're starting to see some progress, some jumps. We're getting in better shape. Execution is improving. We're starting to get some of the system stuff down you need ready to play a game. But we're excited. I think this team is. The one concern I tell the team all the time is there's a concern about a little bit of lack of experience. We've got a very new team. You've got 3 players who are used to performing at this level. And aside from that, you got a lot of players who are going to be stepping into a little bit brighter light than what they've seen in the past, a little bit more pressure on their shoulders than what they've carried in the past. That's kind of the one big question I have for this team. But outside of that, I'm really excited by the way this group has come together, how hard they're working, and the potential this group has.
Who are some of the leaders you've seen rise out of this team and, try to help those other players rise to this kind of level?
Yeah, we're fortunate to have a pretty good number of those players. You start with our team captains, Kristen Williams and Paige. Paige Bradley's come out from Tulsa and has just really provided some of the best leadership I've seen a student athlete give a team since I've been a head coach. Her presence has been really good. But then you've got a couple other seniors. You look at Tracy and Hennessy, 2 of our other kids who are in their 5th year of college basketball. They bring a good amount of leadership and passion when they're on the floor. I think they both have presence. Tracy's a player who's been counted on at this level before at UNC Charlotte. And so I think she comes in and she's someone we think can have a really big year for us. But she's also she sat out last year, so she spent a lot of time trying to kind of refine some of that form, get into the best shape she can. But she's a player who's worked really hard for us. And I think it's a player that Chanticleer fans are going to be excited to see what she can do on the floor this year.
Have you seen the communication and chemistry kind of improve throughout these practices?
Well, it's funny that the players may give you a different answer. I am on them every day about communication. So I don't think – I'm looking for a 10 out of 10 every day in communication. So I'll let you maybe ask them that question. But I do. I think we're making progress. I think it could be better. I think it's such a huge part of our system, the way we try and get around with our coastal chaos philosophy. You got to make noise. There is no chaos in a library. So we're trying to create as much noise and chaos and speed as we can get out there. And you're seeing growth in that. Our 3 freshmen have done as good of a job as I've seen a freshman class do in regards to they're flying around. They're really confident for freshmen. So you're starting to see a few people step up that maybe some people are going to be surprised to see that they're going to play pretty big roles for us. But I do. I think we're making progress. I think the communication is improving, but it can always be better.
How much momentum do you think you carried into this season off the postseason appearance last year, and maybe a few more doors open up recruiting wise?
Man, it's a great question. Momentum's such a tricky thing, and we lost so many players from that. So I've kind of run into the same thing. It's a very relative new team, but we're coming up here. We had tremendous success, 23 wins, first semifinal tournament appearance in Sun Belt history, highest net ranking I think in school history last year. Had some good wins. We beat Buffalo, who won the women's NIT. I thought that even the NC State game, when we went on the road, I thought we had a really good showing on their home court for most of that game. So as far as you come in, the momentum there, it helps with recruiting. I think when you're recruiting, you're going out there saying, hey, as much as anything, I think it's just proof. As a coaching staff, I believe we have an incredible staff. But I think when you look at 23 games, I've been blessed to have a lot of success as head coach. So you're kind of able to say, okay, we've done it our whole career. We've got the ball rolling in that same direction. We just won 23 games again, another postseason tournament appearance. So I think it does help in recruiting. You can look at it and be like, okay, The proof is in the pudding. We're doing the same thing we've done our whole careers. It's the process. We say all the time, trust the process. The process is working. It's getting us in the right direction. Not only do we win 23 games, but I think you're seeing a culture on this team that's exactly what, when we took this job, is exactly what we were hoping to build. We're really excited about this group. We've got not just great players, but just great people. They're fun to coach every day. We go home and we're in good moods, and we look forward to get back on the floor with them every single day. I've never had a group seek out film and extra work as much as this group does. So there's a big reason for optimism. I don't know, like I say, you don't know how good you are until you play that first game and play somebody else. But the one thing I tell this team every day is we're going to find out how good this team can be, because they allow you to push them and get every little thing you can get out of them. I think we're going to find that out of this group this year.
Talked about good people, Paige Bradley being recognized by the KL Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, not just for her, but for your program?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I believe it's the first time in Coastal Carolina's women's basketball history we've had a KL servant leader. And like I said, it's like I said, I've told people I lost my sister to cancer, 2 weeks before my 16th birthday. She was 21 years old when she passed away from cancer. So it's something that I don't know if you can find anyone in any room you go into whose life has not been touched in some shape or fashion from some form of cancer. And so to see Paige get recognized for that, and she's got her own unique story with what her sister's gone through and come out on the other side, and it's a tremendous story. So to see Paige do that and then just know what she brings to this team, we could not have been more excited to. Like I said, I can't say enough good things about Paige Bradley. She's an incredible human being. She's an incredible basketball player, and we're truly blessed to have her in this program.
How did that process work? Did you nominate her for that opportunity? Okay.
Yeah, coaches get to nominate. They send it out. As I'm reading the qualifications, I'm like, boy, this is Paige Bradley. And, they chose 64 people across the country. And Paige was very, very deserving of being one of those 64.
Coach, this is twice you talked to the media. You seem to have no problems with culture, leadership, effort from.
Yeah.
Is this something you're seeing in how do you evaluate that when you're talking about this many transfers and it's not even a question heading into the season?
I'd be remiss if I didn't give credit to my staff. I look at my staff, and today it's not just a portal world. It's a couple years ago, D1 expanded where you can have a fifth and sixth coach on the floor. And I lost my two assistants my first year here because of that new rule. One to California, one to Missouri. And I've been really blessed. You're going into, I've had Darius Carter, Tatum Burstyn, they're going into their third year with me. Coach Shu is we've grown up together, been together a long time. Now Coach Cox is in his second year together. When you can have staff consistency, it starts there. I don't think we'd focus enough on that. It's a really good team is going to start with a consistent coaching staff. So I'm blessed to have that. And then our staff's done a tremendous job. So it's to go out and find the intangibles in this group that we found, it starts there. That's where everything kind of comes from. So really give them a lot of credit for the job they did to build this team.
Are you seeing any big differences in the keys to winning this year with this team versus the keys to winning last year?
Yeah, it's weird. We're a completely different team. Like last year was so talented and more experienced. You were coming in, you had 5 players who had scored 10 points a game or more at the Division I level. And so you knew coming in. Now most of them were coming from outside of Jaden Marable. They all had come from programs where they had losing records, and some of them had lost 20 plus games. So you knew that was going to be the challenge. Okay, could we teach them how to win? But they knew how to play, and they were very battle tested. And so now you bring in, and it's a little bit different. I think we've had more people who come from maybe winning backgrounds, but they haven't played as much. And so. Last year we knew, okay, they know what to do. They're in situations they're used to being. Can we just get them how to play together? And this year, this team just instantly came in and they played well together. They get along. Intangibles, like I said, not that last year's were bad, but this year's are just off the charts with the intangibles, but they're not as battle tested. So I'm kind of curious to see, does that kind of take you further than last year because of the intangibles are so good? So it's weird, but I mean, we're blessed. We had a great group last year. And I think we've got a special group again this year.
Coach, 3 weeks from today, you play your first game. How close are you to being ready?
Man, it's funny. I just told my team it was 2 weeks, so that tells you how ready I am. I'm ready to be there in 2 weeks. We had our first practice so many months ago over the summer. I think as much as anything, I'm just ready to. I want this group to kind of get an idea. What do we look like together? And like I said, they've done so many good things in practice. They work hard every day. They're showing up great attitudes. We've had to overcome some injuries, like I said. So but they don't complain. I've had teams when we get down to 7, 8 players, those drills we do get really hard when you only have low bodies. And these players show up every day and they just work hard. They don't complain. But once again, I keep coming back to, I think we have to play some games. Now, I'm going to ask our Teal Nation to be a little patient with us, because I don't know what we're going to get in the first game. I know we're going to get effort. I know we're going to be flying around. I know we're going to be fun to watch. I think the chaos is going to be there. But I think we got to give this group a little bit of time, too, to give them some experience. That's the only thing they're lacking. They're talented. They're a group you're going to love to watch play. But I think we kind of have to give them that 5 to 10 games to get some experience before we can really find out how good this group's going to be.
Coach, you talk about that experience. I mean, the out-of-conference schedule, Miami, Ohio, the first game, at BYU, at Virginia Tech, at NC State. How do you think that helps prepare this team playing?
You know, I've played those schedules before, and it's tough. It's, you know, you like to play those games. I prefer to get BYU, Virginia Tech, NC State here at home. But in the NIL rev share generated world, you know, this is kind of what you have to do to go generate some revenue dollars to make sure you're paying your players what you want to get them. And so you're going to see some more road games. You're going to see us playing some of these P4 teams on the road a little bit more. That just kind of comes with the territory. We look at those games. I don't know, to my knowledge, you may know this, Sam, like, I don't know if Coastal's got a P4 win. Maybe one? I don't know. I know they didn't play a lot of P4 games before we got here, and we played a ton. So I think there's a lot of benefits to those games. Last year, the NC State game really made us a better team. You know, Wes Moore does a really good job, and his team's so well coached. We came out of the game stronger, even with a loss. And we didn't lose a game for a while after we lost that game. So now as we go in, we're going to play at BYU. I hear the altitude's a factor out there. You know, they're a team with a lot of resources. I think that game's going to be really good for us. NC State and Virginia Tech are more regional games. So at the end of the day, I've always loved to play a harder schedule. When you play strong teams have good coaches. Good coaches find the proverbial cracks in the system for you and gives you a chance to fix those cracks before you get into conference play. And that's really what I'm after. We took this job for one big reason. That was to win a Sun Belt tournament, get us to the NCAA tournament. You don't do that if you're not ready when conference play starts. And so my hope is through those P4 games and the non-conference schedules, by the time we play our Sun Belt schedules, that we've addressed those cracks, we've fixed those cracks, and we're ready to come into conference play firing on all cylinders.
Dovetailing off of that, I know Dawn Staley takes your calls, so will Sean Poppy take your call about the non-conference schedule at Clemson?
Let me think of the best political way to say this. We have been unable to get a game with Clemson, and we're looking for one.
That's got to be disappointing as an alum.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, like, I am a Clemson alum, so you'll never hear me say a negative thing really about Clemson. So it's a great school. Sean Poppy's a great coach. We have friends on that staff, and I think he's doing a really good job up there. But I would love to see us get more in-state games. We listen, Wofford, Winthrop, Furman, College of Charleston Southern, we'll play them all. We called every one of those schools, and we were told we could not get a game with every one of those schools. South Carolina State, you name it. We were turned down by all those schools for games this year.
That's a shame.
Is there any concern with all this travel in non-conference, because your conference is also spread out?
Yeah.
These are some long rides. That's a lot of teams don't endure that.
Yeah, no, I was having this conversation some other day. You look at the ACC, and that may be the most travel now, that what they're doing from West Coast to East Coast, but they have charter flights. For those of us who don't have charter flights, you know, Coastal Women's Basketball has never taken one charter flight to my knowledge. And so we're spending a lot of time on buses and in airports with commercial flights. So you would prefer not to, but at the same time, I've also had teams, like, when you spend that extra time on the road, we come together a little bit more. So there's something to be said about that blue-collar mentality. We're certainly going to rally behind that. I think the travel schedule and some of the challenges are going to really – there's a thing called shared suffering, and shared suffering tends to bring a group together. So I'm certainly not a coach who shies away from shared suffering. I think it's a tremendous thing. And I think our big travel schedule, I think our tough non-conference schedule is going to be a huge benefit to this team.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
Thanks,
All
Coach.
right.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys coming out.